Well, we thought we were starting tonight with the ongoing border crisis, but earlier we learned that America has officially launched airstrikes on Iranian-backed targets in Iraq and Syria. Here now to discuss is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Really fortunate timing, Governor, on this booking. Great to have you. You're a military person. You're running for president. You were, and you will again, and you will again. What are your thoughts on what they've done so far, and what do you think they've done right, wrong, where we should go from here?
Well, I think the fundamental issue is that deterrence has failed because Biden has been weak. The way you keep the peace against hostile actors like these Iranian militias is that they will be worried if they were to move on you of what the consequences will be. But up till now, they've been able to take a lot of pot shots at U.S. forces, of course, even killing 3 recently. And they haven't seen very much in the way of a robust response. So we're just getting the first reports about this. We'll see whether this is something that is real. I know that they basically telegraphed what they were going to do, which you normally wouldn't think would be a good idea. So if it's just lobbing some missiles at some empty aspirin factory, that's not going to be deterrence. If it's something that actually packs a punch, and the Iranians stop attacking our troops, then you'll know that it's been successful. But I think with Biden, what we've seen is he's always a day late, a dollar short, and he's usually erring on the side of weakness and inviting more conflict from our adversaries.
If you throw up that map again, control room, it strikes me as very interesting that, I know these proxy groups hang out in Iraq and Syria, and that's what this retaliatory strike has focused on. But, the big blaring question, why not Iran? I don't want to start a war. I don't think anyone wants to start another war. But do you think Iran will get the message if, as you point out, even if we do hit some of their, these Houthi and such proxy areas, even if we do, it's not going to deter Iran, is it?
Well, you're basically going after a symptom of the underlying problem. Now, Biden has facilitated Iranian aggression because from day one of his administrations, he loosened the sanctions on the Iranian regime. Those sanctions under the Trump administration were tight. Iran's economy was in shambles, and they did not have the money to send all across the Middle East and wage jihad the way they have over the last 3 years. So what I would say is, at a minimum, you should turn the financial screws on the Iranians, oil sanctions, snapback sanctions. Don't let this money flow into the coffers of the regime. We know they're going to turn that around, and they are going to fund these proxy groups. And so Biden is basically now effectively on both sides of the conflict because he's done things that have helped Iran financially for years.
So you look at it this way. Drug dealers on the streets are selling some bad drugs. Kids are dying from it. So you go ahead and bounce the drug dealers, but you find out where the cartels are. You find out where the stuff's being produced, and you go after them that way. Feels like we're just picking up low-level drug dealers by hitting these Houthi installations.
Well, I think there's some truth to that, although I will say with some of the stuff with the Houthis, they were out there interrupting international commerce. Biden's response was very weak on that. That's incentivized, I think, us to have more problems there. So on and on he's done. And then just another thing, I was in the Iraq theater back when I was active duty. And most of the casualties that U.S. troops were suffering, at least in the years I were there, 07, 08, were funded by Iranian-backed militia groups. They were the ones who were attacking our troops and killing them by the hundreds, maybe even over 1,000 during the conflict. And so we have troops that are stationed in Iraq, in Syria. To have them there without adequate protection and to basically be inviting attacks on them, that is not what a commander-in-chief does. You got to be very careful about where you're putting U.S. troops. If they don't have a very clear mission, I would not be deploying them in these places. And certainly, you don't let them just suffer pot shots from these enemies like Biden has done.
Do you think, and this is pure speculation here, but do you think the Biden administration, Antony Blinken, Lloyd Austin, do you think he negotiated with Iran on where these strikes may take place?
It would not surprise me. I think they've been telegraphing what's going to happen. I think that they just have a very skewed view of the Iranian regime. I think that they went into the administration thinking that they could have basically a rapprochement with the mullahs and have some type of deal. Obama tried that. It failed. They were airlifting billions of dollars in cash and dropping it off in Iran. Iran was getting flush with money with the relaxing of sanctions. And what did Iran do? They turned around and they funded terrorism. Trump administration did it much differently. It was much more effective. So I think Biden's administration, Blinken, all these guys, they're operating under a delusion that somehow you could end up having some type of Pax Americana with the Iranians. That is not going to happen. Their whole regime is hardwired to view the United States as the great Satan. And that's been true from the time the Ayatollah took the reins in 1979 until the present.
So you talk about sanctions, financial sanctions, oil sanctions. We've tried that. We've even tried it and made the world kind of stick to it. But then there'll be countries like China who comes in and says, hey, Iran, we'll buy your oil, say it's $75 a barrel. We'll pay $50 a barrel for it. And Iran says, sure, I got sanctions. I can't sell it anywhere. This is what happens. Do you think the financial sanctions have enough teeth to get Iran to stop this nonsense?
Well, I don't know that it's sufficient, but I think it's something that would be necessary. And when it was done under the Trump administration, I mean, it was effective. Obviously, they have some ways to sell on the black market, and China's been a big benefactor. There's no question about that. But their economy was reeling during the years that Trump was president. Now you're in a situation they're doing much better because they just have a more free flow of money going into the regime. So I do think we've seen a big difference in the last 3 years compared to the previous 4.
I'll throw an idea. All week I've been talking about this. I'll throw it to you, Governor. Karg Island in Iran. 90% of the oil produced in Iran for shipment goes through Karg Island. If you level Karg Island, there's virtually no employees there. You're not going to kill any Iranians. You just wipe out their ability to ship oil, to get oil out there, and you wipe out their ability. That's 80% of their economy right there. Why not? Why not? And by the way, you're not prohibiting them from producing oil, so the world can't say, the United States, you're taking world oil off the market. No, you're not. You're just not allowing Iran to sell it.
Well, it's interesting. I think one of the reasons why Biden has not wanted to be strong against their energy industry is because he's so busy trying to kneecap ours. He wants to do a Green New Deal, and he realizes that that will impact it's a global commodity, that it will impact the price. And so he wants to put the squeeze here in America, but I think he wants those rogue regimes to be able to get more oil on the market because he doesn't want to run for re-election with gas being $4 or $5 a gallon. He wants it to be under $3 a gallon. So I think it's been kind of comical that they will go beg regimes like Venezuela or Saudi Arabia for oil, but they could do much more against Russia. They could do much more against Iran, and they've consistently not wanted to do it. It's hard to want a Green New Deal and also want to have gas prices low so that you can compete for re-election.
Governor, what's the Russia play in this? They're standing by watching. I'm sure they're probably thrilled this is going on. But what's the America's play with Russia given this?
Well, Iran has been, and this is why Biden, he's been funding both sides of the Russia-Ukraine conflict because he has, by taking the sanctions off, more money going into Iran. Iran is one of the #1 suppliers of drone technology to Russia. So they've been very supportive of Russia's war. And I think they're likely to continue to do that going forward. Now, of course, any time that the spotlight is off Russia, I think that they appreciate that for sure. Meanwhile, if all this is going on, our biggest threat to our nation's security is China. And they're continuing apace to realize their ambitions. And I think they look at something like a Taiwan, and I don't know that that's going to happen immediately, but that is something when they're watching how the Americans are behaving, I think they can see that in their grasp.
Interesting. Really good having you on. Governor, you come back to the state, and the first thing you do is you start winning again. You start winning again. You won a big lawsuit with Disney. Tell us about it.
Well, this is something that we took a strong stand to protect the innocence of kids. Disney had a different position of ours. We don't think it's right to be injecting transgenderism in elementary school curriculum. You know, we had that battle. They wanted to continue the battle. The legislature passed legislation to change the special corporate welfare privileges that they had enjoyed, which is good policy. I signed that legislation. They sued us. All the media, the corporate outlets, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, NBC, were saying, oh, Disney is outsmarting Florida. And we knew that we would win the lawsuit. And so finally, the lawsuit was dismissed entirely. They don't have a leg to stand on. Not only did we win the fight for our kids and our parents, which is the most important thing, we also won the fight against their corporate welfare privileges. And so this is a victory for the state of Florida and for the children of Florida.
Exactly why we moved down here. Governor Ron DeSantis, really appreciate you. Listen, we wanted to talk about the idea of you sending some Florida National Guard over to Texas. Great idea for the country. We had to take this other breaking news. It was pressing, Governor. We'll get you back again real soon to talk about that. Thank you for your time.
Let's do it. Thanks.